Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Three Idiots to Aquariums podcast. We really very much appreciate you guys tuning in. All the support is obviously really cool. Before we get started, I just wanted to quickly ask you guys if you haven't already, please make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, leave a nice comment about Ryan's haircut. All this kind of stuff would be much appreciated. Helps grow the endeavor, which is obviously good. We want more people to be hearing about fish. So yeah, if you guys haven't already done that, that would be very cool.
We had some ratings on there when I last looked, eh?
Yeah, it was like I think last time I looked, there was like 14 or something, or 15.
I think it was 4.8. So I think Cam's bots have been voting.
Yeah, oh, good to hear it. Still counts.
Either that or it's out of 100. It might be out of 100.
Totally off topic. Did you guys ever listen to the podcast that Haraki do, and they told everyone to rate it like a 1 star? And so all these 1-star ratings came into all of their podcasts and stuff like that. I thought that was quite hilarious.
That is funny.
Don't tell that story. You guys didn't do that. Because we want 5 stars. But no, I have not heard that one before.
Yeah,
that sounds like something that Haraki would do.
Yeah, just give us a 1-star rating, so if people just flooded in with 1-star ratings.
Yeah. Nice. Well, comedy, eh?
Yeah.
The comedy gold.
Comedy gold.
Yep. So I thought this week what we'd do is, so I'm not gonna lie, I think the going around the fish rooms talking about what's been going on, it's been kind of boring because not that much happens. So I thought maybe
6 times this week. I'm like, I've got so much to say. Continue.
Okay. Well, Cam can do around the fish rooms, and then Ryan always just says nothing happens, and then I never have anything interesting. So Cam can tell us what's happened to his, and then I'll start the new segment we're gonna do.
What if I got something exciting that happened?
Yeah,
you did
it. Why have you not told us this prior to coming on?
Why are you?
I literally told you yesterday. So
why are you gaslighting our fish rooms?
You didn't say you were cutting it out.
I did say that.
No, you said you're introducing a new one.
You said you're a new segment, and then you cut out. The opportunity to talk is gone, and you're taking it over.
Yeah. Well, fuck you guys.
Okay. Well, nothing happened at my fish room, so yeah.
Oh, really? That's so surprising.
Just breeding fish. I mean, I did do the presentation at the fish club meeting. And,
oh yeah.
And I've had a couple of people message me since wanting African Cichlids. And
hey, good start.
And I've stripped some fish there and sold some of them at the meeting. And the guys, even though they were barely even swimming, the guy messaged me and said they're all alive and happy, and he's stoked with them. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, and you stripped some of the dolphin manda too, eh?
Mm-hmm. They're going strong. So yep.
That is exciting. If you guys haven't heard of this thing before, look it up. Dolphin, like
dwarf dolphin
and
then
manda.
Dolphin manda.
I'm going to assume it's MANDA, but I could be wrong. But look it up. It's a what?
Like Amanda.
Potentially. I don't know how to spell that either.
Like Amanda without an M on it.
But yeah, look it up. They're cool fish. So yeah. That's exciting, and they're rare. So hey, what more could you want?
You need to look up dwarf dolphin manda. If you look up dolphin manda, you'll find a different fish.
So these
dwarf dolphin manda.
Fish. These are proper fish from the Rip Lakes.
Yeah. And the males are like a how do you describe that blue? Like an iridescent baby blue sort of thing, and the females
are like a real light blue.
And the females are OB. When I first got them, I was like, okay, this all lines up, but is this going to happen? And then when I bred them and raised them up, when they got to about 1.5 centimeters, all the males went blue, the females went. What's that?
Are they a metric climber?
Yeah.
That's what Google's telling me.
Yeah.
So they're stripy, a little bit like a Denisoni type thing.
No, you Googled the wrong thing.
I've Googled exactly what you said. Dwarf Google Manda.
Dwarf dolphin manda.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
Yeah,
we
it's
got
come
the
up
wrong
with-
thing.
It's come up with Denisoni looking things.
All right. Well, this is awkward.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Slight intermission while Ryan figures out what fish he has.
Google dwarf manda cichlid. Don't put dolphin in there.
Dwarf Manda.
Yeah.
Maybe if I learned how to do like some sort of a screen dwarf panda cichlid that I came up with.
It's because you don't know how to spell.
So the OB-ish, did you say?
Yeah, OB-ish one
Females.
is the female.
Yeah.
And the bluish stripy one is the male.
Cool.
My ones are not quite as stripy as these ones.
Cool.
Unless
Do
they're
you know what I
unless they're
really like about some African cichlids is that some males and females of the same species look different, which give you such contrasting coolness into a tank. Like you can have two totally different looking fish in the tank that are the same fish.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's what's that one? There's that one that
we can't get Solosi here.
yeah. I was gonna say all the YouTubers keeps Solosi, and they get asked about it all the time, and it's like that's a very obvious one, but there's still heaps of other options that people would still enjoy of ones where they're different colors and that. So it is a bit of a shame.
I think a display tank of those dolphin manda would look pretty stunning.
Chilumba's
Oh,
still
100%.
The trophy ops Chilumba?
Yeah,
or
yeah. The
they
trophy
are
ops Chilumba. They are not.
They are not. They are not.
They
were another cool option. They did have cool males and females of different colours.
Yeah, they were rad. I quite liked how I don't know if it was the male or female, but that orange, it was more of an orange than a yellow, which I thought was quite cool as well.
Yeah, the females were orange. Yeah, it's a shame they actually died out. I forgot about them until you said that. I used to keep them.
Yeah, I had them.
They wouldn't. I've had trouble. No, they were never that popular.
Which is weird because
even though they're a cool fish, and they're basically very similar to Chichilosi, which I think everyone wants.
Yeah. Oh, looks like you've got another fish to try and find.
Yeah, if they show up, I'll grab some. But
Never know. Someone might still have a little group hanging out.
There's a lot of stuff I wish people had a lot of group hanging out of. But anyway.
But yeah, was there anything else?
What about Cam's news about his fry that he's breeding and stuff?
Yeah, I've had some spawnings throughout the last week or so. So I've had a confirmed spawn of glow light tetras, and I've got fry from them, which I think is kind of exciting. So it's the first ever tetra that I've managed to reproduce. So still obviously very early days, but there's definitely some fry in there. I've had spawns from zebra danios, cherry barbs, and rosy barbs as well. So they've all produced eggs. They should be hatching today, tomorrow sort of scenario. So fingers crossed we'll see a bit of fry from that as well. And my neon rainbows spawn most days, but I'm yet to get anything past a fungus egg. So that's beginning to frustrate me a little bit, but I might have we play around with some methylene blue this time around and see how we go. So yeah, that's what's going on for me at the moment.
So that's progress.
So your neon blue rainbows, they're spawning, and are you collecting the eggs, and they're just all fungusing?
So I'm just taking the spawning media with it, not taking the eggs out. Taking the media out, putting a new fresh one in. So I could remove the eggs and then put them into a container or a tank. That's another option. But I tried to do it without the methylene blue for the first couple of times, which didn't seem to work very well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so you had no no luck with it? Have you got like a big group, so it's not like male and fertile or anything like that?
Yeah, there's 8 or so in the group, but there's more than one male in there.
The odds of all the males shooting blanks are pretty slim, right?
Yeah, they've also come from 2 different sources as well. Like one was, they might have come from the same importer, but they definitely come from 2 different imports. And one I picked up privately, and then the other smaller part of the group I bought from, kept back from an order that I did from an importer. So, yeah, chances are even slim that the males are shooting blanks when it's done that way as well. Even less.
Are they old enough?
I would suspect so. I think it was around Christmas time when I first said I had a spawn that went to nothing.
Okay.
And so, and now it's 6 months, so I don't think it's an age thing now. So I think it's more a user error, which would be me not doing something quite right somewhere on the line.
Because like humans, I've found that male fish mature later than the females. So, you know, and I think possibly like humans, some male fish never mature at all. You know,
yeah,
so sometimes the females can produce eggs, but the males just can't actually do what they need to do. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll give it another go with methylene blue and then taking the eggs from the media and that kind of stuff and see how they turn out. And if that doesn't work, I'll then, separate the group somewhat, try and pick out a male to a couple of females and see if that does anything, and just begin going through that process if I have to as well. So,
at least if they're spawning every day. At least if there's,
You're alive.
Yeah, at least if they're spawning every day, you get lots of opportunities to try different methods of, hatching and raising in that, and then see what works best. It's not like you've got one chance and then it's done for 6 months.
Yeah. So, they're definitely going quite regularly, which is nice. So it might even be a case of maybe needing to separate the males and the females and priming them both up for a few days, as opposed to just leaving them in their own tank and feeding them that way. Separate them, really, really bulk them up and put them together. Might be another option as well. So there's a few different things to try before throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as it were.
Yeah, cool. That's what it is, eh? It's just the constant evolution, and then all of a sudden you think you've nailed it, and then you haven't. So, hey.
Yeah. It's like your Tropheus, eh?
Yeah. Well, they seem to be picking up a little bit now. Now they've got a couple holdings, so we'll see how we go. See how
progress.
We go. Yeah.
Sweet as. Well, what we wanted to talk about today was...
What about the new segment?
Where's the new segment?
Well, we've been talking for...
You've put a teaser in there about the new segment, and now you're taking it away. You tried to take our talk about our fish rooms away. You tried to gaslight us, which is my
because now we've been talking for 13 minutes. No one's going to care now. It's too late.
You're a segment
13's a lucky number. It was almost 13, double lucky number. So
like the 4th or 5th time we've talked about a new segment, and you haven't brought it in.
Do the new segment.
Well, you guys keep talking about nothing, and we've run out of time.
The topic for today is pretty dumb anyway, so let's just talk about the new segment.
Well, we can do it if you want, but...
Yeah, do it.
All right. Well, I was thinking the other day that the around the fish rooms thing is getting a bit repetitive. Of course, the one time we actually get around to doing something else, it's something different has happened, but for the most part, I think it's been getting a little bit repetitive. So I was thinking for you guys, it might be, well, like you guys as in the listeners, it might be interesting if we just had a little quick fire question, just not even fish related necessarily, but just to kind of get to know us and know more about, I don't know, the way we think and stuff in general. So I don't know if you guys... It's what?
Nothing. Keep going.
Well, you got to get blank looks from Cam Inbreed if you ask about how he thinks.
Well, so what was I going to say? So if you guys have any thoughts about that, or like any specific questions you want to ask or that kind of thing, of course, drop them down below. Send us a message with them in there, and we'll compile a little list to use for this segment. But obviously, for the first segment, I'll just come up with something to go. So the thing I thought we could start with was, if you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
By
Someone.
Wagon Wheel.
Oh, nice. God, that is freaking classic. That suits you so much. Old guy music. Old guy music.
Nah, it'll be some rock song, maybe something from the Foo Fighters.
That's tough.
The problem is that if you had to listen to it forever, you'd hate it. So,
Exactly, that's the point.
or maybe I'd go for something from like Tool or Pink Floyd or something that's really freaking long. So it's so long that it would take you forever to get sick of it. You know, like one of those 10-minute songs. You know what I mean?
So like New or something like that.
Yeah, you know, they got those ridiculously long songs.
Yeah, so good.
You could do even one of those like Beethoven ones or something that's like an hour long, even longer. Stretch it out. You just listen to it once before you die.
Yeah.
What
What
is
about
your
you, Inbreed? What is your thoughts?
I think I would go with Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas.
what the hell?
I
That
love
is
Christmas.
She's a
I
banger.
love Christmas songs. I love Mariah, and I love the irony of playing Christmas music in like June and April, which I do all the time. Like I've already started putting my Christmas playlist in the shop, so I'd probably go with Mariah, All I Want for Christmas.
Bro, there is nothing I hate more than putting Christmas music on stupidly early.
You are dead
It's
to
like-
me. There is nothing better in the world than listen to Christmas
Actually,
music in April.
Apart from Snoopy's Christmas, there's nothing I hate more than Christmas music.
Relatable. Like December, just keep it in December.
No,
It reminds me of terrible American movies.
what about
Apart from Home Alone and Die Hard, you know.
how good is Die Hard for a Christmas movie?
You know what
Die
I mean?
Hard for a Christmas movie is amazing, and Bad Santa, but don't watch Bad Santa with your teenage kids. Bad Santa is a good movie not to watch with your children.
Well, I went to Bunnings the other day and they already had the like Santa decorations and that all set up in that, and I was like, what the hell's going on? It's not even Halloween yet. This
You
is
know,
crazy stuff.
Yeah, Costco
Fun
did
story.
happen the other day too when I went there, so I was like, ugh. Look at
Fun
that.
story, in my flatting days, we once left our Christmas tree up till about March. And one of the flatmates got really frustrated, so took it down one day, and then I gave him a lot of shit for a few days, like, but we've just got to put it back up in another 8 months' time. What's going on? So, man, I'd leave my Christmas decorations up all year long if I could. How good is Christmas? I love Christmas. Christmas is fantastic.
Well, that, like, of all the answers that you could have given to that question, that is probably the last thing I would have expected anyone to say. Not just you, just anyone. Even Santa, I would have thought would have said something different.
What is your one? What is your one, young Cam? What do you reckon?
Well, I don't know. I reckon
silly dubstep or something.
Yeah, something stupid.
I was
DJ Khaled or something.
Oh, bro, DJ Khaled is like that was my anthem of like my last year at school. But no, you what? Sorry.
No surprises there.
Yeah. But no, I don't know. If it was something that you had to listen to, like, you know, forever, I would say like something by Queen or something, like one of the longer ones. But I don't know exactly which one. But that was what.
Okay.
Yeah, man. That 1 minute song on repeat all over and over and over and over.
If you had to listen, at least if you listened to "We Were the Champions" for the rest of the time, you'd feel like a bit of a beast, wouldn't you?
Yeah, give you a bit of a get a zhuzh up every time you get a bit sad.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds good.
Okay.
Well, if you guys want to keep going with this segment, let me know. If you guys hate it, otherwise let me know. But yeah, no, sounds good.
We'll just don't let us know anything.
Yeah, just take what you can get. Send us your insults about Ryan's balding hair and Cam's
just
living in Nelson, and you know we might publish them. You never know.
We
Damn.
won't.
All right. Well, I'm in charge of publishing stuff, so speak for yourself.
You won't.
But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So the main topic for today's episode is a tub pond, summer tub pond. So Cam, hairy
Hello.
one.
Hello.
Imagine I've never heard this term before. I am like probably 90% of the people listening. What is going on? What are we talking about? What is it? What do you use it for? Just the word what in a frame
Cool.
underlined.
So essentially, we're holding water outside over summertime, which happens to be around the Christmas period when Mariah is going really well. So we got bodies of water that
I'm just going to not acknowledge that.
bodies of water that we can put more of your tepid water type fish in because it's nice and warm outside. The weather doesn't drop the water temperature too much. So we're growing our fish outdoors. So there's lots of reasons to do this. One, it's cool. Another reason is the fish themselves, the coloration and the size that they grow seems to be magnified when they've been growing outside. You can grow a few different aquatic plants outside as well. Fish get natural food, natural algae, natural light, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a fun little project to do over the warmer months.
So if I was wanting to do this, what would you say, the things I'd need to consider? What kind of equipment and that would I need? Where would I start, basically?
Cool. So I've always either headed down to Bunnings or Mitre 10 and bought like those pre-formed trough type containers. I've got a few big round ones, so 200-ish litres each, give or take, maybe a little bit more. I know some people use like a solar pump to pump water around to oxygenate them and all that kind of stuff. I haven't really bothered. I've literally just got like a container and filled it up with water, and away you go.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And so when you're doing this, would you obviously... Oh, so I'll put this out there. We're obviously from New Zealand, but I understand that we have a lot of international listeners. So I can't really speak about other countries, but what sort of temperature ranges would you be expecting in New Zealand, average? I know Nelson's obviously colder than Auckland, but close enough.
Air temperature.
No, like tub temperature. Like what kind of temperature would you expect that the fish... What temperature would you expect the fish to be exposed to?
Yeah, I think the coolest they kind of get down to around about sort of 16, 17 degrees Celsius kind of thing from memory.
Yeah.
So they get cool but not cold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I always find with those kind of things, it doesn't really... The fish don't tend to mind that much. Because it's not like all of a sudden it gets freezing. It's like it might get cold for like an hour before it starts warming up again. And so I know before in the start piece where you said all the details, you were saying more tepid water fish. I'm not sure I would even say it's necessarily tepid water fish. I'd say like most fish will be fine outside over summer. You might want to pull them some out of the pond earlier than others, but like plenty of like, for example, African cichlids would be fine. They're probably not the best candidate because they'll probably just eat all their fry in this situation. But African cichlids would be fine. You can do like angelfish. I know people have done all this kind of thing and not have too much trouble. So yeah,
I don't know.
I want to try Africans outside, but I just need to find a suitable pond that I can get approval to essentially get another tank.
You've got a ridiculously big swimming pool out the back that doesn't get used. Just take the chlorine out of it, put it in fresh water, and chuck some fish in it.
I would love to do that, but apparently the kids are going to use the pool this year.
No, they're not. You and I both know your kids aren't going to use the pool this year.
Apparently they're going to use the pool this year.
Did they say that last year as well?
Yes, and they did not.
So if they do decide to go for a swim once this year, they can swim with the fish.
I think, the return on them using the pool last year probably cost them $100 every time they swam in it. you know, and
Well,
me several hours of pouring crap into a pool to make it not green.
Fish would love the green water.
They would, yeah.
I was just, when you said Africans might not be a good option because they might eat the fry. Some of the tubs and the ponds I've got, they get, because obviously it's full element, lots of sun, all that kind of stuff. They get covered in algae, so that actually might be okay depending on the Africans you go on and how much they're going to chew through the algae, because there will be lots of strands of algae for fry to hide in anyway. So they might actually work fine.
What I thought would be quite cool is to get all my young males, like at 3 centimeters or 4 centimeters, they're starting to colour, and just dump like 50 or 100 of them outside in the sun, and feed them and stuff, obviously, and look after them. Then and just see what they do over summer, see if they grow faster, etc., etc., etc. You know,
they probably get some nicer colour, I reckon.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking if you put some females out there, it'd be interesting to see if they produced more colour on the natural sunlight and the natural food they're getting. Because in my experience, like guppies, for example, they just look 10 times more spectacular when they're growing outside than what they do inside. So it'd be interesting to see a female, like peacocks or haps or whatever, get a little bit more colour shades through them if they're living outside.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
You're not going to do it, though, are you?
Would that? I don't know if that would translate to anything tangible apart from interesting.
Hey,
so
nothing wrong with interesting.
Well, some would say that we're interesting for keeping fish.
Some would say
it's crazy. You know.
Yeah, I would agree. So when you're choosing your fish, obviously, I think one of the most popular options is the egg scatterers. So if you don't know, they just like kind of throw eggs all around and then they just fall to the bottom. So with them, I think one of the best options that you can use is if in the bottom you put like big gravel, like, the pea gravel kind of thing, or you can use like, even people use marbles and stuff. And having those ones is really good because then what they do is when they spawn, then they drop in between the cracks of the gravel and that. And then once they're down there, then the other fish aren't going to eat them, and they just got more room to have a better chance of survival. But I think the best thing is with a pond, tub pond setup, you get a lot better survival rate. So you'll get a lot more successful fry, like raising up, than you would like if you just had a tank. Because there's so many.
Antidotal.
Well, it's not just me, but a lot of people I've spoken to said the same thing. Because from my understanding, what happens is because there's obviously a lot more hiding spots than that. They're not going to eat them all, and they're going to be spawning a lot more. So they get what was I going to say? And they get a lot more natural food than like you'd obviously feed them. So like there's all sorts of little microalgae and like mosquito larvae and like all these little bugs and stuff.
But you'd also put a whole bunch of like pond plants and lilies and stuff in there, wouldn't you, or not?
Even just lots of normal aquatic plants will be fine over summer. Like indoor aquatic plants will be fine. Most of the time it's the cold that is trouble for them.
Yeah, Indian fern goes right, but as soon as it gets cold, it rots and goes to mush.
Yeah, Rotella rotundifolia will be quite good as well.
Duckweed,
one of my popular ones.
You can use plenty of duckweed outside. And Azolla.
Azolla, for sure.
Use Azolla. Azolla is a phenomenal plant in full sun.
Oh yeah, for sure. Both of them will go nuts.
My question was more because you were talking about using like a gravel or a marble type thing for the fry to drop down and to eat in. I've never done that. I've just chucked fish in and away it's gone. So that was where my question went regarding survival rate, whether because it's attempting to spawn it, the survival rate becomes higher, or if it's just thought that it is, if that makes sense. Like we just had guppies outside and had truckloads of them, but I don't know if it would be a higher rate than normal. I've had like white clouds, and I've produced white clouds in there, but I don't think it would have been a higher rate than normal. It's just that the fish that came out, in my opinion, or my eyes at least, show a far nicer, cooler looking fish.
Well, I don't
I guess
know, but
with more space, and like more natural food and stuff, you should be producing more, or they should be growing faster and stuff. But
yeah, they're definitely a nicer looking fish. The natural food, the natural sunlight, all that kind of good stuff. It's definitely good for these fish, and they look far nicer. I just wasn't certain on the survival rate being accurate or producing bigger
I don't know
numbers.
if it's I don't know if it's the survival rate necessarily, or if they breed more or whatever. But I've definitely noticed a difference, and other people I've spoken to have said that there's a difference that they see, but that could obviously be anything. Any cause. But yeah, there is definitely a difference, I reckon. So yeah, I think the other thing. So you kind of touched on it before, but a lot of the times, whenever people are sort of asking about this kind of topic, the question of like filtration gets raised. So like, how would you filter it? Do you need to filter
how do you
it,
stop it from
etc.?
going green and looking like shit?
You don't. You let it go
Exactly.
green and look like shit. And then all the
So-
fish
But
in
what
there.
if you want it to be crystal clear, like beautiful, nice, and see the fish, rather than just have a.
I'm guessing you're setting up a pond, not a tub.
Oh, Ryan's getting told off. So yes,
Is that
I was
considered
gonna
close
say, yeah, pretty much.
Always.
I was gonna say, so what are your thoughts on that topic, Cam? Could you expand on that a little bit, maybe?
Difference between a pond and a tub, or trying to stop it going green, or where are we at?
No, just like filtration in general.
I've never used any filtration in any of the tubs or pond type things that I've set up outside. I've used plants basically to do their thing. Some ponds I've set up have been horrifically algae, messy grossness, but the fish that have come out of them have been phenomenally beautiful. And then I've got a IBC square tote thing sitting in the backyard of my house at the moment. It's been running for 5 or 6 years with goldfish and pond lilies and oxygen weed and all that kind of stuff. And it's pretty much crystal clear because of the plant mass that's in it and the maturity of it and how established it is. So I guess it depends on which way you want to rock with it. There is obviously pond filters that you can use. There's solar
You can
pump you can use and all that kind of stuff, or you can ring up a proper external filter or something like that with some sort of power leads. But
you can still use a sponge filter or something in there, couldn't you? Too, just run an air line out and just put bubbling away.
I've just left them to their thing and let them do their own thing and let it just develop into a natural ecosystem, basically.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think so if I was going to do Ryan's idea of like throw 50 male peacocks in a little pond, little like average size pond, probably I'd want to filter on that. But for this kind of thing where it's like maybe like a half barrel or like a big plant pot or something like that, I don't think you do need a filter, because the way I kind of always explain it is like, probably going to sound dumb, but like there's a lot more nature going on. So obviously, being outside, you'll get all random like leaves and crap growing in there. You'll get all sorts of little bugs. You'll get all sorts of algae. You'll get all these natural plants growing. And basically, the idea is you have a very small fish mass to start with. So like if I have my little 100-liter barrels here that I'm using. I haven't put any fish in them yet, but when I do, I'll put maybe 4 or 5 fish in there, and then let them go. And then obviously as they're breeding, the biomass is going to increase, but it'll go slowly, and it will let everything settle out and balance naturally. So even if you didn't have plants, I'd say you'd be fine, most likely.
So what about
Like,
water changes?
Well, I think you will want to do water changes, but not like as much. Do the old water change here or there, or just overflow the hose in every once a month or whatever. But I definitely don't think you need as much, because there's more nature going on, basically. More nature per water, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And what about them getting too hot? Like you say, you don't want any. You wouldn't put any filtration in there. Do they ever get to the stage where, like in Auckland, where it's a beating down day? It probably doesn't happen in Nelson because it's probably still snow in winter, summer. But
you know that Nelson has like the most sunshine hours out of everywhere in the country. Like we are significantly sunnier and hotter than what Auckland is.
That was
that's
one of those statistics that has been made up on the spot.
There is more to New Zealand past the Bombays. Just so you both realise that.
That makes if that's true, then that's even worse, because then it's like, man, there must be something horrible going on down there for no one to want to live there. If it is the most sun, there must be some cold murder.
You know what I mean?
You what? Sorry.
Why is it still so cold and shit if there's so much sun? I mean, there must be something wrong with the Earth down there if it's just radiating.
It's not cold because we're closer to the Antarctic, you dumbass.
Sure. Yeah. Likely story. The Earth is flat.
Everyone's going to have their excuse.
So,
The Earth is flat.
I could see Ryan getting into flat Earth. I could see like him coming on in 5 years, and in his what's going on in the Fishroom segment, he could be like, "Well, I've had to adjust because the Earth is flat. The Earth is actually flat, so that's going to mean that I have to change the way the fish stands are done or whatever."
And then I'll build a cannon to shoot myself up in the sky because I want to see for myself or something like the flat earthers do.
That would be like how you die. It's like you blow yourself up trying to prove the Earth is flat.
Because you guys know that when you go on an aircraft and the Earth looks curved, it's because the windows are made that way to trick you.
The windows is actually a TV screen, and they just put a curve on there. It's all a scam, man.
It is, yeah, definitely. Must be.
So
and then when you get to the edge of the Earth, you just fall off.
No, you hit the ice wall. So, if any of you lovely people are flat earthers, we're not making fun of you. You do you, but
it's a very serious theory, and it definitely scientifically sound.
Exactly. I have no.
It's definitely nothing wrong.
No comment. So we're actually talking about fish tanks, but you were saying.
But getting too hot becomes a problem for me. I'm thinking because if my fish tanks get too hot, the fish will start gasping at the surface and they start running out of oxygen. Obviously, that's an oxygen exchange thing. But I'm thinking if I've got something like 100 liters outside and the beating down sun, it's going to get pretty warm.
So what I think, it's something we should have touched on before. Don't put it in full sunlight. That is a bad idea for a lot of reasons, but the heat thing is one. Obviously, it's not going to be thousands. Well, probably it's not going to be thousands of liters worth of water, so you won't want to completely boil your fish, basically. So I would put it in somewhere where there's shade, and then it's also going to help with algae and all this other stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't put it in direct sun. And the other thing as well is if you've only got, so the oxygen thing is, I think you have trouble, Ryan, because obviously you're keeping African cichlids, so everything's overstocked. But if you're keeping 5 little tetras in 5 tetras plus their fry in a 100-liter tub, you're going to have a lot more. They're not going to need as much oxygen because there's not as much gills, and not as much body mass. So I usually find that keeping them outside of the sun, in the shade of, next to a wall or under some sort of shade utility thing, is going to be a fence. That's what I was trying to think of. Next to a fence or something is going to
shade utility thing. I like that. It's like a utility belt or some sort of thing that you pull out. Here's my shade utility thing.
I never claimed to be a smart guy. I never claimed to be smart.
My handy shade utility thing.
Handy dandy notebook. But I'm just putting the idiot in Three Idiots. But yes, having it next to in the shade is usually fine. I don't find that there's that much trouble with heat because of the lower stocking density, which also helps with the filtration question. But again, if you're doing African cichlids or something and it's overstocked, probably you'll want a filter that's going to break the surface, or you'll want to do one of those little USB ear pumps or something like that to stop everything from dying.
So I can only speak to my experience and what I've done, but I've never done water changes on any of them. Like I'll top up the water from evaporation, or let the rain do its thing. Every now and then, like I'll forget and leave the hose on too long and blow it out. And I've left it all in full sun and never had issues.
Yeah, but that's Nelson full sun.
I guess also, yeah, we know that that's probably like half the sun anyone else gets. Yeah. I guess also when you're talking about your tetras and all that sort of stuff, a lot of them come from an environment where it's pretty warm and the temperature's pretty variable, right? When they go through their dry seasons and stuff, the water all like gets really shallow and gets really hot and stuff, and they have to actually survive in that. So maybe they're more, whereas my African cichlids come from this giant ass lake that doesn't evaporate and the temperature changes like 1 or 2 degrees throughout the whole year. So I wonder if that could be the difference. And your fish are probably more adapted to living in areas of low oxygen that are look like tea and stuff like that, and maybe they're just more suitable for it. I haven't actually done the Africans outside, so I don't know if it's going to be a great success or a great failure. You know,
I'd say that's
only one way to find out.
A fair theory. The fish from the Amazon get a lot more swings than what the fish from Malawi and whatnot do. So I think, and obviously they're a lot smaller, which means they use a lot less oxygen compared to the Africans as well. So I think that's probably quite a fair comment and thought pattern.
The thing is as well, I want to, obviously we both all know this, but you know, for the listeners, it's not just Amazonian fish we're talking about. You can do it with whatever, you know, you can do it with Asian fish, do it with West African fish.
We're not discriminating. We're not discriminating here. We're not discriminating against different fish.
No, but like, you know, barbs, for example, barbs is a fantastic option. They're really fun. You get way better color, etc. But they're not from South America, so you know, don't forget them. If you are so inclined, kribensis go real well, but obviously you got to make sure you have somewhere to put them.
But I mean, you can probably put them in your toilet and they'll do well. So you know, you got to be careful of them.
Fair enough. But yeah, even like what was I going to say? I do. So this is not something I would recommend to other people, but I do know someone who did discus.
Really?
And said they had success, but I think that wasn't like just a bucket, like a little tub. I think there was a bit of an operation, but it worked, so it's possible.
It's an interesting one. I mean, you
probably need to do water changes and stuff for them, but I don't know enough about it to speak to it.
You'd have to be pretty lucky, I would say, to have them do well, not to have any random temperature drops that would flip them over.
Yeah,
make them do weird stuff. But yeah,
there's a guy down here that has a heated pond, which is slightly different, of course. But he's got a heated pond outside. He does swordtails with year round, which I think is kind of cool.
Oh, nice. I saw. I wanted
like this bloody big, like they're enormous. But
so, given that we're on a podcast, how big is this big for the 99% of people who aren't watching on YouTube?
About as big as a big black fine pen. So, you know, your standard big biros, it's a black one. It's got the little hooky bits.
Does it have to be black?
Yeah, it's more grey, but I purchased it as black and I purchased it as a fine tip. So
what happens if I only have a blue pen for reference?
The fine tips are definitely the best, eh?
Yeah. Is that descriptive enough for you?
I don't know. I mean, hey, I'm looking out for the listeners. Someone's got to with this bloody hillbilly operation we're running.
The clicker bit is out, so it's just an extra, I don't know, 5 or 6 mils longer as well.
And that counts.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
You know, that extra little bit counts.
Yeah.
You should be a sports commentator with that description. I feel like I'm there. But yeah, I had one guy come into the shop once who he had a heated pond, and do you know what he had in there? Freaking Oscars.
Cool.
And they
That's
were
cool.
like the biggest, most healthy Oscars. He said like
They would.
it's not exactly cheap to heat it, but
Do you just
he
use a
had-
normal like aquarium heater outside of the ponds, or do they use some
no, it
sort
was
of
like a
other heater?
pool heater,
Yeah, sparkle heater or something probably be the option.
like a swimming pool heater or something.
So it was like a spa pool pond type thing. It was quite big.
So kind of like
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
it was
basically
massive.
Kind
Like,
of like what you've got in your
volume-wise, it
backyard
probably-
that your kids don't use.
So what's that?
Kind of like what you've got in your backyard that your kids don't use. You could put some Oscars in there.
You could, that would be sick. But yeah, volume-wise, I'd say it probably would have been like 2,000, 3,000 liters.
Cool.
And it wasn't like, it was cool because it wasn't one of those concrete ones. It was like one that was like a natural shape. So there was like a real deep bit, and then there was like this real shallow rocky bit, and like, you know, it was like a random shape. It wasn't just like a uniform like square or something.
How many did he have?
And he
in
said, I think it was like 12. Like there was a
there?
lot.
12.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a
Cool.
lot, and they were big, and they were happy, and like, you know, it was like the middle of winter, and he was saying he like sits there and he sees the steam coming off, and it's like, you know, they're just happy as you throw the
He
food,
just-
and they just like.
He just
you
sees
know,
the dollar signs floating off it.
Well, I think I can't exactly remember. I think he had like he had a real big solar rig, and then he was quite wealthy, so he didn't have to worry about it. But yeah, it was quite expensive, but probably
you
no
wanna
more
insulate-
expensive than
you wanna
operating
insulate-
an entire fish
Go.
room in a
You probably want to
container in your
insulate
backyard.
that. You probably want to insulate. I don't want to insulate around where the pond is in the ground, and I want to get an insulated cover for it for overnight.
Yeah. I don't know
It'll be a tick, I
exactly
reckon.
how his system was, but there was something
people-
it was not a hillbilly operation. It was like very, very nice. And
People
very,
do
very
heat
fancy.
spas all year round, and they heat
Swimming pools
pools
and
all year
stuff.
round. So it's probably not. You know, you could swim in it too. So double usage.
I wouldn't be swimming in it with Oscars, man. No
make sure
way.
Make sure you wear togs.
That's how you lose your toe
No
or
skinny
some
dipping.
other body part. Little worm get bitten off.
Elsa's too like a good worm, don't they? So you know.
Back
Exactly.
Back to the tubs.
Okay, yes, back to the tubs. So, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So, what would be some? I thought maybe we could go around with some good suggestions for people for different types of fish. That you might want to look at trying this whole tub
So
pond
I've got a
thing.
question. I've got another question about tubs. Now, so how do you obviously you put your fish in there when it gets warm? How do you know it's warm enough to put them in there, and how do you know when to take them out before they no longer are there?
So I'm gonna say it depends on the fish, but for the most part, for like the general like average thing, like your tetras and your barbs and your minnows and live bears and stuff, I'd say wait until. So the important part's the overnight temperature. So I would say wait until the overnight temperature, or like the coldest temperature, which will be overnight, is like around sort of 16, 17 degrees. So keep an eye on that. And then the other thing as well is you don't want to take them from a tank that's at like 26 degrees and just yeet them into a tank that's 16 degrees and say good luck. It might be okay, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd like, do them in your tank and like over the course of a few weeks, bring the temperature down to like room temperature, like eventually just have the heater off, and then go from there and then take them from there and chuck them in your pond. You'll want to add them to the pond when it's like, I would say like mid-morning. So not when it's like cold, but not at like peak hotness. Again, it probably doesn't matter that much, but like
That's another
optimally.
technical term.
What is?
Cold.
Like, what was the shade apparatus thingy? What was the shade?
Utility?
And then
Utility, no, shade
Shade-
utility operation or something.
yeah. And
Device.
so, oh yeah. Yeah.
Wait, what did
Okay.
I just say?
Something about
Something.
adding them to the mid-morning operation or
Cold,
something.
cold.
Mid-morning
Yeah.
hotness, but yeah, not full temperature. And then obviously as it goes down, in the evening, it's not gonna like go from top temperature like all the way down. It'll go gradually, so the fish will like gradually cool down, which will be fine. And then yeah, same as with the opposite direction when you want to take them out. So you'll want to take them out when it's getting the coldest temperature the pond experience is getting like down lower than like 16 degrees um, overnight or whatever.
So you're saying
Um,
look at the long-term weather forecast and look at the overnight temperatures, and when they start trending sort of over 16, you reckon
Yeah.
you're all good. You're all good.
Yeah.
I
So like
I
for
got-
me here, probably like next week or the week after, I think I'm gonna I'm gonna do the albino cherry barb, so I'm gonna chuck them in next week or the week after, I think.
Are you doing them at
I got-
home?
Yeah.
There's no way to do them
I
at
go
store already.
slightly
Exactly.
differently. When it feels like it's not cold at night time, it's time to put fish out, and it feels like it's getting cold at night time, it's time to bring fish in.
But what if I live in Nelson and it's always cold all the time?
But it's not
Hmm.
always cold all the time.
Does it ever crack 2 degrees overnight over there? Down there?
Oh my god, you guys are losers.
I thought you.
But yeah,
thought you
that's
basically. You told us before you lived in the Arctic. So I mean, what
Guys,
are we supposed
it's
to?
the Antarctic, Ryan. Come on, be serious.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not too cold. It's probably that's one of those ones where like, so I'm not gonna lie, Cam, that's what I do. But I'm saying, listeners probably want a bit more of a concrete kind of answer. That I would
That's
say
kind
that
of
would
why
probably
it's kind of why I was asking the question, because someone who, like a lot of people, and rightly so, are very precious about their fish and stuff, and some people like to keep things very stable and very under control and all that sort of stuff. So
well, wait,
I just wanted to sort of
with
answer that,
with that, I'm gonna say something that is gonna make us all sound like absolute dickheads, but I think is really true, and that
It's
is
just
that obviously we have us three and like crazy fish people have a lot of experience. So like, for example, not related, but like for example, when it comes to African cichlids, I'm sure all of us would be able to tell when something's going wrong or about to go wrong. But if it's someone's like first tank, they're not going to know what's going on. So that's one of those ones where I think it's like it probably makes sense to like follow a formula if it's like your first time doing it, like follow a formula or a process or whatever to get there. And then once you've got more experience, you can kind of just wing it and be like, yeah, it feels warm enough. But for your first time, I'd say probably you'll be much safer because you're not gonna obviously have the experience of like, oh yeah, that went wrong that time when something happened. So I'll just do it according to this process that works for other people. So yeah, that's more of a fish keeping thing in general than just a pond thing.
It's better to have a little bit of data, eh? Like, I mean, I'm looking at the Auckland outside weather temperatures this week, and today and
Tropical.
tomorrow it's pretty warm. Like Friday's pretty warm, 14 degrees, almost there, and then it drops to like 8 degrees next Thursday. So it's probably not going to be a good time in Auckland for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, nice change of things.
Depends on what fish you're putting out there as well. Like white clouds, for
Yeah,
example.
exactly.
I mean, now you have no issues.
Also, if you had a bigger pond, and maybe
Hold
even if you
water.
put some insulation around it, it will hold the water. Won't always drop exactly to the water temperature overnight. So you could get away with a little bit more if you had a bigger pond and you had a bit of insulation, and potentially you could chuck a heater in there if you wanted to, set to like 16 degrees. Just to make sure that it doesn't drop that low.
Exactly. Just to take the edge off, the absolute extremes. Because like probably it'll only need it for like an hour, but if you got it and the power's not if you're fortunate enough where the power consumption of that's not going to be the end of the world, that's definitely a good idea, for sure. Kind of as a safety guard, I guess. But yeah, I'd say it definitely does depend on what fish you're using. Like you said, a white cloud is going to be different to a rummy nose tetra. But
Okay, bye. He's back again. So for
no.
those of you that are
Hello,
not
goodbye.
watching and you're listening to the podcast, Cam had a wee technical issue and he disappeared off the screen for a split second, and now I'm talking about it.
Mm.
Is that better?
Whoa,
Are you happy?
whoa.
He knows
He's
he's
come
changed
back now.
positions now. He's changed positions now. He's at the bottom. You're at the bottom of the
Yeah.
pecking order, boy. Get
What do
down.
you mean? I've been here the whole time.
No,
No,
you
you
just
vanished.
dropped
Haven't I?
Yeah, you
You
disappeared.
vanished. Yeah. You
Oh.
need to I know
Pedal faster.
Yeah, exactly. We have power in Auckland, but that's what Cam Nelson was saying. His slaves weren't pedaling fast enough out there.
My
Power going, you know.
slaves.
Slaves.
We don't do that anymore.
They do that in civilization, but in Nelson, all bets
It's not right. It's not right to call your children slaves either. I've been told off for that by my wife.
Especially if they don't do any bloody work, they can't be slaves. So, you know.
So you got these built-in little Fishroom helpers, Ryan.
Nah,
Well, and Cam.
they don't do anything. When they're younger, they're interested, but when they're older, they don't.
Their payment is a house and a roof to live under.
Unfortunately, that's supposed to be like a right for children. They're not supposed to earn that.
These dastardly human rights.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So back to ponds.
And
So-
the other part of my question was when to bring them back in at the other end, and can you leave them outside all winter? Some you probably
Depends
could
on
So
or not.
most fish I wouldn't leave all winter. White clouds probably be the exception. Maybe paradise fish apparently, but I haven't tried that.
Paradise would be
But yeah, obviously goldfish as well you could do, but I wouldn't do for like your tetras and barbs and stuff unless you do have a heater.
What about hillstream loaches?
I
They're
wouldn't.
pretty
I don't
pretty
think.
cold.
I don't
Even
think they would.
white clouds aren't supposed to go that cold, really. I know
If
they
you have a
do,
big enough
but
body of water, I think, because I know quite a lot of people in Auckland keep them around, like little patio ponds outside all year, without any trouble. But I'd say optimally you probably wouldn't, but a white cloud would probably be fine. I probably wouldn't do it with hillstream loaches. I don't think they would be able to go that cold long term.
what
but
about
yeah.
if you put the pond inside a glass house?
Still
Well,
gets
yeah, then
cold
you
in the
could.
glass house over winter.
Depends
Does
on the
it-
glass house,
Does
how
get
warm it is.
warmer though?
Yeah, but the extreme colds are still cold during the winter because it's
Not up
literally just glass that's breaking the barrier. So you wouldn't get your wind and all that kind of stuff, but overnight.
No, but
does.
the glass
The idea is the
concentrates the
sun
sun.
shines through the glass, it concentrates it, it stays in there, and the glass technically insulates a little bit. Although a single pane of glass isn't going to insulate that much, but if you had decent double glazed greenhouse, maybe it would
Who the
work.
hell has
I
a
don't know, I'm
double
just
glazed
thinking.
greenhouse?
No, then double glaze would stop the heat getting in, wouldn't it?
No.
No, the sun would go in, and then the heat
Oh, if
wouldn't
it's
go
sun,
in. But, yeah.
Who
'Cause-
has a
so-
double glazed greenhouse? Let's be real here. Nobody has a double glazed greenhouse. Greenhouse is a 3mm core flute or 3mm glass. Over night time over winter, it wouldn't work.
I actually don't know anything about glass houses, to be fair. I've seen one.
Well, to be
And
fair, a friend
seen
of the podcast is building a outdoor monster pond.
He's not
and-
actually a friend. He's our friend, but he doesn't listen to the podcast because he thinks we're dumb.
Well,
I'm trying to
He's
encourage
right.
him to
Well-
listen. I'm trying to encourage him to listen, but he is not interested.
well, an enemy of the podcast is building an outdoor monster pond, and using a glass house or greenhouse. I don't know the difference to insulate it and heat it.
Do you know
Which is
one of
quite
the
a cool
ways that
idea.
he's looking at heating that, which I think is quite interesting?
No,
He's looking
Compost.
at heating it with compost.
Yeah, that's a fantastic option.
oh wait, actually, I
Is
did
it-
know that. Yeah, that'd be
Is
quite
it
weird.
as an
I
option?
don't know anything about that.
But the key
Well,
word here is
obviously-
he's trying to heat it. Just using a straight glass house won't heat it enough in the winter.
Exactly. But he is doing.
It would take the edge off.
Survive.
No, it won't.
That'd be
The
interesting
glass
to see
house-
how he goes.
A glass house is freaking cold in the middle of winter, just like it's literally like being outside at nighttime.
Oh no, it'll be warmer. It's not going to be warm enough, but it'll be warmer than no glass house.
No, it won't be.
I think it would
Yeah, well,
hold the
you won't
heat.
get
I
wind
think it
chill.
would hold the
No,
heat
yeah.
a little bit longer. I think it would hold the heat a little bit longer in the day, and it will probably get warmer. Probably get warmer during the day, and
will
hold the
hold
heat
It'll
a
get
little
much
longer
warmer
into
during the day.
evening.
Yeah.
And it
But
will hold
the-
the heat
Yeah,
longer into
exactly.
the evening,
it will just disperse because glass is not an insulant.
Glass
That's why
isn't a very good insulator. That's why we need to double glaze our glass house for our pond.
The thing
That's
I'd
why-
worry about is I'd be really worried that during summer it would get too hot. I can't see how you can keep that cool enough, but I've been
you can
wrong
open
before.
the window.
Yeah,
My
but
we know-
still, even
glass
know-
house has got a window.
When
Yeah,
I
my
worked in the
glass
glass houses when I was a kid, they used to open the roofs. They
Yeah.
had them like these big chains that we used to pull in and go, that open them up and let all the air out. But they were actually insulated glass houses in that they had double skins and they inflated with big inflators in between the skins and used air in between the plastic. They weren't glass houses; they were plastic glass houses, but they basically blew them up.
plastic houses.
You might
Yeah,
also
they blew them
find
up.
they were heated, like the one I used to work in had like a boiler that used to have pipes running on it that heated
These
as well.
had big, massive three-phase heaters in them that kick on
Yeah.
at certain temperatures in the middle of the night. Yeah.
And so what we're not talking about is what we've got as a greenhouse sitting out the back of our house, which isn't heated, which isn't insulated, is not going to work in the wintertime.
Oh no, it won't.
I-
Definitely.
I think it would work
What are we
better
having
than.
this conversation for?
I don't know.
What
I
the
don't know
hell?
what's going on. I just thought it'd be
Ask the
interesting.
I asked a question and I got an answer. So you can't just put a greenhouse in with no supplementary heating and keep fish that can't live outside in winter over winter.
Probably not, no.
Cool.
So,
thank you.
okay,
Thank you for
let's-
answering the question. So probably.
Can we answer the question I've already asked 3 times and no one's answered? So, what fish would
I was trying to get through the basics of the pond first before we talk about the fish.
Okay, makes sense. But we're there now. So, what fish would you want to put in there? Options. Go. Hit me. Someone.
Most live bears are absolutely fine.
Goldfish.
Yeah, goldfish would be fine. Minnows would be fine. A large variety of barbs would be absolutely fine.
I think all the barbs, pretty much, at least as far as we get in New Zealand, would be fine.
Probably, yeah. I don't think there's any point in trying loaches, especially if you wanted to reproduce fish. Seems pretty stupid idea to play with most loaches out there, and I think they may not handle the cold. I've struggled with bristlenose of all things. I didn't really
Would be a good option.
didn't really like the coldness. I never had much success with them. They all went belly up fairly quickly. I would think some of the cooler species corridoras would probably be okay because they can handle slightly cooler waters quite easily. And that would probably, I haven't tried them, but I would suspect also the same would be tetras of various varieties would be okay. Axolotls obviously go fine. I think paradise fish would probably be, like I said, quite cool.
I very much disagree on axolotls, but continue.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't have a whole bunch of them outside for a couple of years, so.
Yeah, but that's not good for them. They get real bad fungus real easy, and they don't do well with the temperature swings. I get a lot of rescues of ones that people's been keeping outside that's not doing well.
None of mine had funguses, so it's worked for me, so it should work for everybody.
No comment.
Also leave them year-round as well.
That's definitely not a good idea. I would not recommend that, but continue.
No, you continue.
Were you done talking?
I am now.
Okay, well,
yeah,
I
think
would do...
axolotls are one of those ones that seem to get abused a lot, and I don't actually understand anything to do with them, but there seems to be a lot of people rescuing them and caring for them.
Yeah,
So
axolotls...
It shouldn't be around.
The problem, okay, not that we're talking about axolotls, but the problem with axolotls is they're too tough for their own good. So, like, when most fish would die and axolotls still survive, and they get really badly messed up when, like, a fish in similar conditions would just die. So, that's the problem with axolotls. Let's do a podcast about axolotls. I really love them.
I'll turn
what
up.
I was
Brian,
gonna-
turn up, and you can just talk for 5 hours, and we'll just nod and go,
Dude, sounds like a plan. But what I was gonna say is, the best fish that will go well is like, white cloud mountain minnows is a good option, but you don't have to do just the normal ones. You can do the longfin or the golds, obviously, or the longfin golds. That'll be fun. You can do cherry barbs is a real good one. They get real bright color on their bodies from the natural sun.
I reckon some Odessa barbs will be cool because they're a wicked fish.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good option
Rosy
for sure.
barbs, rosy barbs, they get real cool too.
You know, you can get long-finned rosy barbs that just look like goldfish,
Yeah, they look
like
awesome,
straight
mate.
up, just stay way smaller and way more
And they
active.
get bright red.
Yeah, like they'll get the same, like almost like glowing.
Mm.
Because I bought some off a company that grows them all in tubs, in ponds, and they honestly, like you look at them and you're like, oh, that's a goldfish. Oh wait, like that's how bright and orange they were. So actually, damn, I just thought of that. I'm gonna buy some
I
more.
had-
I miss those
I have
guys.
another question that's not related to the fish to put in the pond that I
Sure.
think is important to consider. When we did our talking about fish health thing, we were talking about how fish don't seem to just randomly get parasites and all that sort of stuff because they're in a closed environment. And it's well known that the cycle of a lot of the worms and stuff that affect our fish is carried by birds. Is there an issue? I mean, obviously you've got a potential issue there of introducing parasites through food, you've got don't have a lot of control over what goes into that environment. Is it a consideration that birds could be pooping all through it and the fish could be getting worms and then you could be messing all your shit up when you bring them back inside?
So
Yep,
I'll say it is, of course. You what? Sorry.
Absolutely, that can be a consideration.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely possible. It's one that can be, I think, overblown. But it definitely is a consideration that you want to look out for. But I wouldn't say it's something that's gonna, you know, be guaranteed to happen or anything like that. So yeah.
Just going back to when I said I struggle with bristlenose, and both of you are quite shocked. I wonder if that was related not so much to temperatures. I wonder if that was more to do with lack of oxygen, water
But they can
movement.
breathe. They can do the jungy thing where they go up the surface and breathe from their like extra whatever it is, like a labyrinth type thing.
Yeah, but I wonder if that'd be enough long term, like that's a survival type of thing, as opposed to a best case scenario type of jive. So I wonder if
So
the lack of anything.
I'm gonna tell you guys a story that is gonna make me look very bad. But my brother had a fish tank, and it was in the garage. But we moved it into the house the other week, into his house, and so we took out all his rocks in there, and it was all his fish came to the shop for like a week because he wanted to build a new stand because the old one was pretty knackered, and so we put all his rocks that had Anubias all growing over it in buckets and just left them sitting in the garage, like completely. It's like a shed basically, not like uninsulated. And then we took them back inside yesterday and got them all set up, and there was a bristlenose in one of the buckets, and it was completely fine. It had been living outside for a week in Auckland when it's too cold, and like we put it in, and it was like nothing had ever happened.
Yeah, but we're
So-
talking about a week, not several months.
I've definitely decommissioned a Fishroom and gone out there 3 weeks later in the middle of winter when nothing's been turned on with half an inch of water in the tank and found bristlenoses still living happy as they've been living in the dark for the last month. You know, like,
and snails. You'll see the little trails going through the whatever mold and stuff. What's going on? Yeah, me too, many times.
That's gross.
So it's interesting to see that they didn't survive for you in a pond.
I would wonder if it'd be
I would've
worth
thought that'd be a
trying them
good
again,
option.
Cam.
Possibly.
I wonder if it's one of those ones where like something else has gone on that's not measurable. Because I'd say they'd have a much better chance of surviving than like a hillstream loach even.
Did you add any stability to your pond to get some good bacteria going first?
You know, once they got sick, you probably should have just chucked some Malefics in there.
Oh God, here we go.
I know
a guy with a 4-liter bucket of the stuff. 2 4-liter buckets actually. Anyway, let's carry on with the ponds.
Can we? I have a dream that one day we'll go an episode without talking about stability.
It was so close.
So close. The good thing is, an hour and 9 minutes in, not many people are going to be listening. So, you know.
I think
If you're
like
if you're
this
still
whole-
listening, drop your best stability joke down below in the comments.
I had one the other day where the concrete was like cracking and stuff in his in Cam Embry's back room, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. Maybe the roadworks and stuff, or maybe we're talking about the weight of the aquariums and stuff." And I said, maybe you should pour some stability down there just to stabilize it all.
that was funny.
Comedy gold.
That was my best stability joke. So yeah.
So yeah, drop your guys' down below if you're listening, and I will. Well, how about for next week's segment, we'll just read out stability jokes from the listeners.
So the thing that's come up from this is you can understand why MPI is so harsh on some of the fish that come in. We've just listed off all these fish that can potentially live in cooler, colder water, maybe last longer periods in the winter.
Oh, 100%.
So you can understand why they go, well, no, this can do this. We ain't looking at that. Like we didn't talk about Daniel.
But then hang on. If that's your justification for why they're being dicks, then how come I can bring a Calvus in and then not bring a fish that lives next to it that won't live outside?
That's a totally different conversation.
That's a separate issue, dickhead. But what I was,
but anyway,
Can
trying to apply logic to a situation like that doesn't work.
My unpopular opinion is I 100% agree with MPI. Like, I don't think the execution is there. Like, I think, not being able to have, all the shell dwellers is stupid because they're like the same fish, just different color. But the idea of, protecting the native waterways and stuff is a very good idea.
They need to protect the
unpopular
trout.
Opinion, but I agree.
They need to protect the trout because they collect all that revenue and bring tourism to the country.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. Our trout industry.
Yeah. Massive. That's we talk about big fish. That's the real big fish.
Oh yeah, gotta be the trout, mate. Very important to New Zealand.
Cool, but and like I said, it would only take potentially a few generations of maybe one or two of these fish living in a riverway, okay, for some period of time over winter. Then the next generation goes a bit stronger, and all of a sudden you've got things like rice fish living outside in your waterways and bullhead catfish and all that kind of crap. So,
well, I mean, look what's happened with turtles.
Well,
that's a perfect example there.
There's catfish everywhere through the Waikato River, through Lake. What is it? That big one, Lewiston Springs in Auckland. That's full of catfish. And
I don't think it is anymore. Actually, I'm pretty sure they've wiped out a lot of them.
Oh, okay. Well, there used to be heaps when I used to go there with my kids. You could see them all swimming around.
There used to be heaps of koi. Used to be heaps of goldfish. Heaps of like all sorts of stuff. But I think they've got on top of most of them now.
People don't fish in the waterways.
Yeah, that is literally the worst thing you could possibly do. Like full stop.
You wouldn't steal a car.
You could murder someone, but
why would you put your fish in a waterway?
So yeah, that is not good. Definitely don't do that.
And even if you would steal a car, because some fish keepers that I've met definitely would, just don't let your fish go on the thing. There's definitely some dodgy fish keepers that I've met. But don't definitely, even if you would steal a car, don't dump that car full of fish into the waterways because that's bad juju.
That's not a good idea. Yeah, but no, that sounds good. I mean, so did you guys have any other sort of closing remarks you wanted to give on the subject of tub ponds and summer ponds?
What's a pond that I can get that Kim won't think is just me trying to get another fish tank anywhere other than the fish room, that I can put somewhere that she won't know is a fish tank and actually likes? Is there anything out there that I can
there's
trick
options.
her? I can trick her.
You could put a really nice one. You could put a really nice one and say it's for adding value to the house. Otherwise, you can get just a big chest with a lid and just say, you've already got that big chest with your buckets. Just fill that with water and just say it's for storage for your gardening equipment.
Also, what do you do with them over winter? Do they just become like this festering, stinky, green, manky like thing, the pond? Oh
no, you'd probably want to empty it, idiot.
But it's sitting outside. It's going to fill up with water, right?
Empty it and turn it upside down or something. It's not that hard. Figure it out.
I've left mine pretty manky over the winter time and let it go, and then come springtime, all the good stuff's in it, and chuck fish in it, and away you go. It's all good. Put it close to your neighbour's house.
There's your options.
You.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone needs any insect screens because their ponds are breeding too many bugs, hit me up. Phantom Screens, Ryan Jury, do your deal.
Regarding how do you get a pond in your backyard that Kim's okay with, you've already got one with the swimming pool. Just convert it over.
Yeah, we've been having negotiations about the swimming pool, and apparently the kids are going to use it. So we'll see. I'll probably pour a couple of $1,000 worth of chlorine and stuff in it and run this bloody thing and scoop all the things out, and then again it won't get used.
Better stock up.
Just put a deadline on it. Be like, you have to use it X times per week. If you let up for even 1 week, then I'm just throwing a bunch of fish in there, and you can, go to the local pools.
Well,
Boom.
we do have a pretty good swimming pool real close, but anyway, that's a different story.
I think if you haven't tried or set up anything outside before, give it a go. It's good fun. I like the idea of just letting nature be nature and just sort of leaving it to its own device, and the fish will find its own food and let the sun do its thing and that kind of stuff. So it's a good fun. Into the winter, bring the fish into your aquarium at home or bring them into a tank inside and sell them, whatever you want to do with them. But yeah, it's well worth it. Give it a go. O'Doyle rules and up the wires.
Oh yeah, we've got a bit of a game, don't we? Bit of a game coming up. Yeah.
When is this game?
Saturday, 10 o'clock.
So by the time this podcast is released, we will know what has happened. So
we'll be PM. We'll be off to the final, baby. Woo!
Yeah.
So
we'll
comment your jokes about how bad the Warriors are down below. And yeah, definitely give the pond thing a go. I think it's one of those ones that it's like everyone is always on. Not well. Most people aren't allowed more tanks inside, but it's a good loophole. Obviously, you'll want to buy some chocolate or something for your partner when you do it. But
I think it's
or propose, Ryan. You could propose, and it could be your wedding present.
I think it's probably one of those ones where they can come home and you can say, "Hey, babe, I bought us something for the house to add value." No, you say to add value. I like this. I like this way you're thinking.
Yeah,
something for
it's
the
like
garden, something for the house, something for us.
You say, "Hey, I've been doing some landscaping. I think it's really gonna add some value to the house when we're wanting to sell it." So,
have you heard of feng shui? And aquarium apparently is
and also we can just sell the fish that comes out of it, so we can get some even more money. So yeah, I'm just really the world's best person. So yeah, I'll just expect my my wedding ring in 5 seconds. So yeah, but no, do that. But yeah, otherwise have fun. I think this is probably one where we will want to do a question and answer session on. I think this is one a lot of people will have questions on. So yeah, we will maybe see if there's enough questions, we might do a half episode or a bonus episode or something of Q&A on it. Because I do think it is one that will be quite important for people to ask questions about. So we'll see how we go.
Do a Q&A on all subjects, but the problem is our audience, if we have one.
We tried that. We tried a Q&A session and we got one question. So that kind of flopped.
They don't seem very interactive at the moment.
If you're at all, so I'll put.
Have you followed? Have you looked at all the questions on YouTube? We get gazillions of questions on YouTube.
I don't even know we're on YouTube.
Ryan, I don't think Ryan has their login to the YouTube account. But what we'll do is so in the Spotify, I can put a feedback thing. I'll put a thing where you can write your questions in, or you can comment on YouTube, or message us, or email us, or come into our shops and tell us them in person. And yeah, if there's enough questions, we'll do a bit of a bonus episode and hopefully solve all your worries. Doesn't have to be about fish; can be any sort of question you want. Ask us about the weather forecast, and we'll do our best. So yeah,
Cool.
thank you very much.
People do
We're closing
comment on
with
our videos. I just had a look at our videos and we've got comments on there.
Well,
Yeah.
duh. I'm amazed that you know what YouTube is, to be fair.
I don't. Okay, I'm not
What
gonna
is
lie. I
this
don't do a great
video
job of
stuff
replying to
on the
them, and
internet?
we do need to talk about that. But yes, we will do better at replying to you guys' comments.
The only problem is I push on it and all I hear is, hello, everyone, from Cam. Hello, everyone. I click on the new video to look at the comments.
So
Good
muted.
to hear.
Do we need to talk about Cam's introduction? Because he says good morning to everybody, and when people are listening, you release the podcast at like midday on a Sunday, so it's not in the morning. Do we need to
Yeah,
discuss
but
that?
no one's watching it as soon as they. I mean, we have fans, but they're not that serious.
I like this one here. I think the inbred genes are affecting Cam's ability to think. The dead spot theory had me face palming. I love it. I love it.
But like I tested it,
Whoever
and it
that
came up
is,
true. But I
at-
tested it, and it came
at
up
Clyde-
true.
Clyde Zanitza, you are the man, my new hero.
I tested it, and it came up.
No, you did not test it.
I did test it. I
You
showed you the
did not
photos
test it.
and the videos. I did.
But anyway, that's
Let's not open that can of worms.
that's Ryan's comment of the day for the internet. Love it.
I'm 2 for 2 on my theories and tests.
No, you're 2 for 2
2
on your
for
craziness. 2. Yeah.
2 for 2.
Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. The merch, the merch has kind of died, so we need a bit more energy on the merch. It's all been designed. Cam's got it sitting there ready to go. You know.
We only ever had one inquiry ever.
And the leading thing for the merch right now is Cam in bread. So like it's Cam's face in a piece of bread on a t-shirt. So that is the leading suggestion so far.
I like it.
So it'll be Cam's face inside a piece of bread. So it's Cam and bread.
That took me a while to click onto that. I was like, where are you going with this?
That's what my mate was saying to me the other day when I went over there is what he wants. And someone actually sent us a prototype of that, didn't they? The Cam and a piece of bread. But anyway, thanks for listening. And next week we'll have some of this. This topic actually wasn't as shit as I thought it was going to be. And I actually want to try and find something to put some fish outside in that I will be allowed to keep and not get in too much trouble for. So, cool. Enjoyable. Talk to you later.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Thank you guys for listening and catch you later.
See you later.
Bye.